Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Infinite I Am Global event, in which we will gather for powerful conversations with scientists, wisdom keepers, shamans, healers, intuitives, astrologers, visionaries, to bring a deep understanding of our relation to the divine, to all that is, has been, and will always be. This event is designed to open up space for all of us to remember the infinite and powerful light being that we all are, to acknowledge the sacredness of everything, to restore the ancient knowledge of living in oneness, to consciously honor our choice to incarnate in this moment of time and offer our unique contribution for recreating the indigenous way of living on Earth. Here you are invited to tune into the wisdom and the healing energy created in these conversations and experience your own deep transformation. I'm your host and the creator of this event, Veselka Nikolova, and today my guest is Ayla Schafer. I'm very excited to present her to you. Welcome, Ayla.
Thank you so much for having me here.
I'm so glad you're here today with us. And I very quickly, I'm going to introduce you to our audience, for those who don't know about you. Ayla Schafer is a multilingual world folk singer, songwriter. I'm going to repeat it. World folk singer, songwriter, and a visionary musical artist, weaving together a stunning repertoire of original poetic songs with traditional and tribal music. Her music expressing a passionate dedication to earth consciousness and the sacred ancient wisdoms. With a rising international presence, she has become known as a voice of the earth and is a powerful sound in the growing world of spiritual music. To experience the essence of this stunning songstress is to be taken down an enchanting musical journey that ultimately leads us back to the very core of our own inner existence. If you would like to know more about Ayla, please go to the link under her bio, under this video, and read about her and listen to her magical songs. So today we're going to talk with Ayla. It's kind of an open topic conversation and letting the universe to lead us about where we're going to go, but it's more about connecting with our ancestors, the power of reweaving that which has been broken by reclaiming our place in our ancestral line and within the web of life. My first question to Ayla is about the Proto Celtic. So, Ayla, you have begun writing and singing in this Proto Celtic language. And when I heard you singing and mixing English language with this beautiful magic language, I had the thought that this might be light language. So, can you tell us more about Proto Celtic? How you began to write and sing in this language, and why this feels important for you?
Yes, so first of all, I would like to just introduce Proto Celtic because most people have not heard of this form of the Celtic language. It's not familiar to many of us. I had never heard of it until about 2 years ago. It was a totally new discovery. The Proto Celtic is the oldest recorded version of the Celtic language. So, you know, I don't fully get my head around quite how they do it, but they've somehow gathered all the words of the Celtic rooted languages, the Celtic speaking languages of today. They've gathered all the words that are the same across these various languages. And like this, they kind of identify the roots the root words of the language and are able to trace back further than the spoken language. The versions of the spoken languages that we have now, of course, have evolved and changed over time and have mixed, and the way that language does. So the Proto-Celtic, they call it the mother tongue. It's like the mother language. The mother language also of many languages that we speak across Europe, and including the English language. You know, there are many words that we can begin to connect to the Proto-Celtic language because there's similarities. So it's like the root of so many languages across Europe, and they believe that this would have been spoken in some similarity to how they've gathered the Proto-Celtic into this collection of words. They believe this would have been spoken about 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. So it's very, very old. It's no longer spoken by anybody. It's not a complete language. Many of the words have been lost along the way. Obviously 4,000 years ago they weren't recording or writing. They didn't have a written form of language. And I kind of just stumbled across this language, it stumbled across me. It found me, is the kind of feeling. I work with an amazing woman called Carolyn Hillier. I worked with her about 15 years ago, and about 2 years ago she kind of came back into my life, and I found that she has been doing an incredible work of reviving this language. It's really hidden, you know, it only exists in these kind of archives that you can find online. They call them lexicons, like collections of language. And she's done an amazing work of reviving, renewing, and kind of cleaning the language, because it's very important to recognize that the people who gathered these words and did this work of collecting the language and recording it, this was about 200 years ago by white Christian men. And of course, the nature of translation, there's always the imprint of the consciousness and the interpretation of those who are translating it. So a really good example is there's a word in the lexicons, in these collections of words, there's a word that is translated as nun. Yeah, we all know there were no nuns 4,000 years ago. So she has done this incredible work of cleansing and creating her own creative interpretation of the real source within the language, and revealing its aliveness and its potency and its magic, and allowing the consciousness of those people 4,000 years ago to really speak through the language. You know, the way they lived, their wisdom, their understanding, the way they communicated, the way they existed. And when I heard this language, it's like the time stopped. Something happened, you know. It was like deeply touching, deeply moving, something. It like awoken something in my bones, in my cells, something that remembers. And so since then, yeah, I've been studying and feeling this language and learning from this language. She has an amazing book. It's really worth actually to say. Anyone who's interested, this is Carolyn's book, Her Bone Bundle, where she's gathered all the words, and there's translations in there. And what I can say this language is giving me is it's helping me, or it's part of my process of returning back into relationship and reclaiming my own indigenous self. And I love, you said something similar in your introduction to this interview. The power of language. We're so much of our identity is within our language. It's also the way we think is within our language. Anyone who speaks another language can understand this, that we can express ourselves one way in a certain language, in another language there's a whole kind of other space, a mental space, a way of thinking, a way of relating, a way of, it's the expression of our consciousness. So it's incredibly powerful and impactful, what we're singing in, even if the words may translate to the same, logically the same thing. What I've experienced is a deep sense of belonging within this language, and an invitation to return to my own heritage as an English person with Celtic ancestry, having grown up on that land and spent so much of my life feeling very uncomfortable with being English because of the history of what the British Empire has done, which is just, we are responsible for so much horror, so much colonialization, so much bloodshed. It's not, for me, it felt very unnatural to have a sense of feeling connected to being English in this present moment. And this language has kind of invited me to go further back, to follow the roots of this language. But it's more than the language, it's follow the roots, to connect to those people who are my ancestors, who spoke this language, and to learn and listen from being in connection with them. And this sense of reclamation and revival and deep faith and homecoming that I feel from what this language is, from the journey that this language is leading me on, is so powerful. It's so there's a magic to it. There is really a magic to this language. And what I begin to see is when people listen to it, it touches something. And you don't need to be from England or even Europe. Many European languages are rooted in this language. It is touching something within people's heart and soul, and awakening a memory in our bones, this memory that resonates within all of us of a time before, of the ancient ways of the wise and old ones, and this consciousness, which is where we come from, this way of being in relationship with creation, the way of honoring the sacred, a remembering. This is for me, this is the language of remembering who we are, and remembering where we come from, and remembering and reclaiming our place within our lineage, our lineages. And leave it there.
Yes, I felt the magic when you were singing it, and when we were speaking now about it. And I'm wondering if there was a purpose for this language first to have from this root mother language that you are speaking about, you're discovering now, and your teacher, the lady. So how much this earth, so how much this ancient language, let me start again. First, what you said, it brings us back home. That was my feeling. And how much is the importance of this language not being available to us and coming back to light now, having this role to revive this ancient knowledge about who we are right now, but not coming through the mind, because no one knows this language. You're learning it now, you're starting remembering it now, again reviving it. But how is it coming right now to light for us to help us remember who we are through ourselves, not coming through our minds, like by words, knowing words, what they mean and the meaning we give we give to these words, the way we understand it. We don't understand it, but ourselves know and vibrate with it. And do you think it's important coming now through the cells? What you felt is you're helping us to help us do the same, connecting with something very, very primal and essential.
Yeah, I would like to mention that one of the things that really moved Carolyn Hillier to revive this language was there was a burial cairn, a burial site on Dartmoor where I live, and also Carolyn lives, a Bronze Age burial site that emerged by itself from the land, I think about 10 years ago. And it was a woman who has been named White Hill Horsewoman. And just by the nature of erosion of the land and, you know, movement of the ground and weather, she literally kind of appeared. And it's been a massive discovery, archaeological discovery, because so much has been learned from the things that were found within her remains, which actually she was burned, but you know, the details, it was so well preserved because of the peat in the earth. The things that are in there, people had no idea, you know, like tin beads and bear skin and so I was going to say ivy, but I mean nettle cordage braided together to make a belt. And when she appeared, it was really, you know, on a spiritual level, there was this sense of like that they are urging us to listen. They are emerging so that we can listen to this wisdom, so that we can remember. And this was very significant for Carolyn, and around this time she began recovering this language. So I feel like this White Hill Horsewoman is very symbolic and in relationship with how the language is being revived and being picked up by many people now, that it feels like, yeah, I mean, look at the world. It's like the time is now. It's no longer like, okay, in a few years we'll sort this stuff out, is it? The time is now that we are healing, we are waking up, we are learning, we are reconnecting, we are reweaving the threads that have been broken, remending all that has been lost over these past really few thousand years, most probably. And I deeply trust and believe that the connection with our ancestors and the wisdom that is given through our bloodlines into our beings is absolutely crucial for this time, and absolutely crucial for how we learn to navigate in the decisions we make, and learning how to be here in a way of balance and harmony, and in the ways that mostly our ancestors would have been. So I don't want to totally romanticize them, which can be easily done, you know, but they certainly weren't living the way we are now, and they certainly understood some things, you know, that we see in the sacred sites that they have left behind, the stone circles and springs and many things that were there, that they were it was important for them to be in ritual and prayer and be in relationship with the sky, and be in a way of honoring with their surroundings. Like this we know just by looking at a stone circle that says already, we don't know what they did, but we know it was important enough for them to build these places. You know, I mean, look at Stonehenge. It's like, this is a huge amount of work.
Yes.
Something was very important for them. This is what we are learning to listen to and bring here again into this time, into our lives.
Yes, you're mentioning romanticizing them, but we really lost something very essential that they knew about, and they lived by these principles. of belonging and connecting with all around and treating everything as a living being. We lost that. And you have studied quite a lot with indigenous cultures all over the world. So how do they relate together? Because there must be an underlying thread of all these ancient cultures that it feels like that. So Celtic is kind of a new to me. We more listen about the South American cultures or the Mayan cultures. So this is pretty magical that here in this land, there is this beautiful energy coming to wake us up as well. So how do they relate? And how important are they now?
Yeah, well, I feel if we were to look at many different indigenous traditions, or certainly I can speak from the ones that I've been in contact with, the main thing that I'm feeling in this moment of how they relate is this sense of that we are not separate from this earth, and not just this earth, but this whole of creation, the seen and the unseen, the elements, the animals, the plants, the rocks, the stone. They all have this very fundamental understanding that this doesn't belong to us. We belong to this incredible creation here. They all have a very profound relationship with the earth and with the elements and with the nature and with the animals, and that understanding that that is what is sustaining them, and therefore it is utterly sacred. It is important that the water is taken care of and the earth is taken care of, because without it, we are nothing. They all have a real emphasis on reciprocity, on the cycle of giving and receiving, that it's not sustainable. It's just very obvious that if you are living where your survival is dependent on the direct contact with the water and with the hunting of the animals and with the plants and with the forest and the wood, it's very immediately very obvious that it's not sustainable to take and take and take and take without giving back. That without balance, we are simply killing ourselves by killing that which is around us and not taking care of it. It is detrimental to the survival of our tribe or our people or our traditions. I think all indigenous traditions also have a profoundly vast and complex spirituality, a sense of that there is more than what we see, and a relationship with that, and a way of being with that, and tradition and ceremony being absolutely crucial to, or a vital central part of their existence. I don't know any indigenous peoples. I can't say that I know them all. Like it's very limited, really, in the reality of how many indigenous peoples there is, which is actually all of us. We all are indigenous peoples, and we may have lost our traditions, but those traditions that are intact are still many, even if they have lost a lot. But they all have their ways of ritual and ceremony and offering. They all sing and they all dance. And when you look at for what, there will also be very similar themes. Some of them are very human, a celebration of a birth or a marriage or a death ritual. And many of them are simply just expressions and rituals of co-creation with the invisible world, with the spirit world, the spirits that are. And I'm sure there's many. This would be a whole study in itself, and I'm sure there's many, many, many themes that are woven between them all. But those are the ones that feel yeah, the most kind of fundamental is this existing in relationship in an honorable, respectful relationship with the sacredness of life. And this, when you look at our modern world, it's like, God, how far away are we from that? How far have we come? And it's very clear that if we understood things in that way, like indigenous cultures do, indigenous peoples do, we wouldn't be, it would be impossible to be doing what we're doing as humanity. And when we live in a city and we don't even have any trees and we don't even have any nature to be in relationship with, then of course it doesn't make it, we're not embodied in that understanding. It doesn't make so much sense. And of course it's easy to poison the land and poison the rivers when it's anyway somebody else doing it in their factory and all we're doing is buying the thing in the shop. We're so disconnected from our own existence, from the fundamentals of what it means to be a human being and what we need to survive, you know, which is like air, earth, food, water, one another, our prayer, good company, our songs, our dance. Yeah, this reconnecting and the reweaving work, which is happening in so many ways and so many levels. And I feel the ancestral work is just one thread of this braid, you know, that is being that must be rewoven.
And what you said is really truly important to connect and recognize how interconnected we are. And everything starts with reconnecting to ourselves, which we have no idea who we are because it wasn't taught at schools. As you said, the right thing is total disconnection and not belonging. This is a strong word for me, you know, not belonging and feeling isolated, and then feeling separated and not having the consciousness that being part of it, we're damaging part of ourselves with what we're doing to the earth and what you just said, the waters and the air. But you have come to your natural way of contributing to restoring this distortion. I mean, restoring the ancient way of living and removing, kind of helping, cleansing this distortion that has occurred for many, many years. And for me, it's very relevant what you said, bringing back this connection to the seen but unseen realms, this magical cosmos that we've got around and we are part of. And kind of I have been grieving for a long time about this lost connection with the unseen realms too. And your voice is, for me, is kind of connecting both. It's connecting us both to the earth, which is a cosmic being too, but kind of more real, tangible, and connecting us to these ancestors from the cosmos too. And how your journey developed is my question, and led you to be able to kind of bring us. You have a workshop called the Song of the Soul. How did you come to do this work and really awaken all this connection with everything around us through our soul? It's very poetic, Song of the Soul, I would have to say. I'm attracted. I was very attracted when I saw it.
Yeah, well, it's a very big question because really it's the kind of the question of like, or the answer is, you know, my whole life story from the moment of birth and probably even from before birth and my other lives. Like, it is the story of my soul, which I actually feel is the song of our soul, or the song of the soul is the expression of who we are and the story that we've been through, which shapes us and is part of us. And, in our essence, it is not who we are, but I think in my life journey, something that's always felt very important for me is to really include and honor my humanness. Like for me, being like spirituality is not a rejection of my humanness or my emotions, or like that has never really worked for me. I know that works very well for some people to kind of leave behind the humanness and all this stuff and our story and all the weight that we carry. But for me, my humanness has been a very important part of like the alchemy that has happened within me through the intensity of deep human emotions and strong human experiences and trauma from my childhood, like all of this very kind of like of this human realm stuff has been actually that which has guided me, I would say, through feeling so deeply, like what you said, I really resonate, like the deep grief from this. It's like a black hole, like a deep abyss of the absence of belonging. Like the pain of that and the pain of looking around and going like, this hurts me to see this, and it hurts me to feel this, and where is my tribe, and where is my traditions, and where are the songs of my people, and where are our rituals? Like, hurts so much. And even before I realized what I was searching for, I can now look back and see I was searching for something that my soul remembers, something that I believe we all are born here remembering these ways. Because if you look at the time span of humankind, I don't remember the exact details, but I've seen it, like mapped out. It's something like 99%. I'm actually really guessing. I shouldn't maybe guess figures, but basically the majority of the history of humanity is we existed as tribal people in a very simple way, living close with the earth, that sense of belonging, singing our songs, being together, being in sacred relationship with creation. In the history of humanity, it's very, very small and recent how long we've been living like this. And I feel like we're born remembering, our cells remember, our DNA, our bones. This is this beautiful saying, that is very accepted in normal language, like the feeling in my bones. I feel it in my bones. I remember it in my bones. So, yeah, without going into all the ins and outs of the things I've experienced and the ways that guided me, I basically traveled for a long time in my early 20s. I left home and was like, go, set myself free, searching for something that I didn't know. And this is where I encountered many different indigenous traditions and spent time in South America. And looking back on it all, it's very beautiful for me to see that what I'm discovering now with the Proto Celtic, with returning back to England and living on a land where there's Neolithic sacred sites beside my house, and a very ancient feeling where the land speaks and the ancestor speaks, and I'm learning to listen, learning what that means. I'm learning how to respond. I'm learning how to live in a relationship where my ancestors feel like as real as other human beings, like this is real. They're with me, they're speaking to me, they're guiding me, learning how to live under instruction of something greater than myself. Because to be honest, I feel like being a human being in this time is just so overwhelming and utterly terrifying, and feels so massive, the responsibility that is ours to take, you know, the learning to have the ability to respond to what is happening in this time with so much suffering and so much tragedy and disasters and sickness and war and all of this. And it's just endless. It's endless when we go there. And it feels too much as an individual human being. For me personally, it feels too much to be able to hold alone. I only manage by leaning back into this holding, and, you know, leaning down and leaning in all directions, really, into the holding of all that which is around us. And I'm just remembering you asked about the Song of the Soul workshop. You know, bringing all of what I've just said, I believe that the song of our soul is the truth of who we are, that we have come here to live and emanate and be in this life. And that includes expressing with our voice, because as I see it and understand it, when we express the truth of our voice, whether that's spoken or whether that's singing or whether that's sounding, when it's really in alignment with truly who we are and truly where we're at in that moment, you know, and I say that because it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be all love and light and beautiful. You know, like, our grief is so sacred and our rage is so sacred and so needed, and our whatever it is that is moving in us. And this comes back to honoring our very human self. Like, those deep emotions are full of so much wisdom, and when they can be processed and expressed and be in movement, and this is where the voice is so helpful, through expression we can allow the wisdom to flow. And through being more honestly through being more authentic and naked and honest in our expression, we can be more authentic in who we are and more true to ourselves, more aligned with who we are. And this is the song of our soul. It's how we manifest in this life, what we do, how we speak, how we are with one another, how we live. It's a beingness ultimately. And I do believe that through working with the voice, through working with blockages in the voice and our fears and our self-judgment and the criticism and our traumas and our insecurities and all the stuff that we gather through this human experience, you know, our conditioning, our childhood, our traumas, our culture, our society, the imprints that we're bombarded with, you know, basically every single second, about who we should be and how we need to fit in, and this kind of prescribed reality that's so far away from the truth. Our voice can help us to love ourselves, really. Because one of the most important things I've learned, and I continue to learn around expressing myself and singing and sounding, when I'm in a state of self-judgment and criticism and analysis and comparison and self-doubt and all of this stuff, what is really being shown to me is like, okay, you're not in a relationship, a loving, compassionate, respectful relationship with yourself right now. And the work is there, right? Like, first and foremost, we must be anchored in that within ourselves for us to be able to be in a relationship with another human being in that same way, you know, a relationship based on dignity and respect and love and kindness, which would be a more peaceful and a more harmonious relationship no matter what the other person was, where they were coming from, even if it's only us based in that, the energy would change. And then imagine when that happens on a big scale, how different the world would look if we are in dignity, respect, and love and kindness, and our way of being, our way of speaking, our way of acting, our relationships with one another, and our relationship with the earth, and then relationship with the water, and all of that is based on these things, the world would be a very different place. So it's, yeah, this, again, I say, like, I very much honor our human process of healing and processing all of that which we carry. And the voice is such a profoundly naked mirror to ourselves and who we are and where we're really at, moment to moment. And as well as being a mirror, it is the tool itself to heal and work with and move these things inside of us. So it's, yeah, our voices are very powerful, potent, sometimes very uncomfortable, deep way of working with ourselves and working with aligning ourselves more deeply with who we are and who we've come here to be, and working with navigating this life with more grace and dignity, respect and love and kindness, and being in relationship based on those qualities, those truths.
Yes, and what you said is how we go through these emotions is so important that we can't ignore them. Because we all have this self-talk, these voices in us about being not enough, about having to compete to achieve something, which increases the separation between one another. And it's a difficult reality, as it appears to be a reality, to manage. And everyone feels a bit lost. So your work is helping really in a very I would say deeper, beyond the mind way to come back to ourselves. For me, working with the feelings of the body, I have realized this lately, that working with the feelings of the body, touching the places where we don't want to touch and letting them be and expressing them, but in a way that has nothing to do with the mind, just feeling them is more important. And I feel through song, through your voice, is such a powerful way to become more aligned in what we do and how we learn to live. And do you have any sense of how we can uphold the light in us? Because there is so much that can shrink us in these times. How we can be stronger. And I believe people come to these summits because they seek for something like that. How we can navigate and sail and really come to this sense of peace in us and wholeness.
This is a question I am asking myself every day, and have been asking myself very deeply over the past few months with everything that's been happening in the world, and observing, you know, my despair and heartbreak and confusion and, you know, very strong reactions, and being pulled in also to this kind of dark chaos of humanity. Been asking this question, how to be a beacon in this time, each one of us, every single one of us, how to uphold the forces of light and not do it in a way that is spiritually bypassing that which needs to be looked at and that which needs to be acknowledged on this earth. And this has been, I think, is a big conversation at the moment. I've seen a lot of people speaking about this, and there's a lot of kind of judgment towards one another, and people being very upset if they feel somebody is not holding the entirety of our global situation within the light. Because as the way I see it, we are just anchoring ourselves in peace and love and light, but not including the collective and not including the despair and the immense suffering that so many people are going through on this earth. It's beyond comprehension. It's absolutely beyond comprehension. I've been opening my eyes to it in a way that I've never been, I've never dared, or I didn't want to, or subconsciously was avoiding. And I really believe, like, it can't just be about us, right? It's not just about, making sure I'm okay and I'm in the light, but it's like, how do I anchor myself so deeply in the light, in love, in compassion, in peace, in harmony, that I am strong enough and balanced enough and steady enough to hold it all within, invite that darkness within the light, because the light will dissolve the darkness. And in these past few weeks, I'm understanding that when we can do the work to be genuinely anchored in our joy, in our love, in our hearts, in compassion for everybody. It's again these words: in dignity, respect, and love and kindness. And it takes work. It's not just like, okay, I'm going to sit here and like and like I'm there. Maybe for some people it is, but that's because they'll be genuinely there. It takes facing our trauma. It takes facing our pain. It takes facing the discomfort and processing that and loving ourselves and opening our hearts deeply to feel, stepping out of numbness, stepping out of the amnesia, the great sleep, the great spell that we've been put under by whatever we want to call it, patriarchy, the predator, this great forces that are very real on this earth and this time. Like, there is a lot to be confronted. There's a lot to be grieved for. There's a lot to be felt. This is in my experience. To be able to be really anchored in that place of dignity, respect, and love and kindness, I have to show up to the uncomfortable work. I have to face things that I would rather avoid in myself and in the world. And the more I can arrive to this place inside of my heart, side of my being, the more I am able to emanate through being that, through expressing that, because I am in that place. And therefore that manifests in how I walk, what my work is, what my purpose is, how I relate to one another, how I speak, what I give a voice to. And I think most of all is like, I just get this very strong feeling of we must take everybody with us. There is no love and light. There is no reality where some people can live peacefully and happily in their privilege, and yet there be the majority of humanity in a living hell. Like, I don't believe that that's real peace and happiness for anybody, to be in denial. It's like we go together. We have to go together. We have to carry this with us and include it all, and every day anchor ourselves in the heart, take care of ourselves, nourish ourselves, have good boundaries, respecting actually what we're capable of engaging with, and always being very honest with checking in with ourselves. Like, is this what my nervous system is this like what I'm not capable of holding, or am I just would rather not go there? You know, am I spiritually bypassing, or is this really what I need to do to be able to serve goodness and serve the light, to take care of myself, that it can be sustainable? You know, there is no point, and I have been through this in the past few months, like drowning in the deepest grief at what I see happening, especially to the children. You know, the horrors in the world. Is just, I have been pulled down. I have felt totally disabled by despair and hopelessness and horror, and unable to respond. And then I'm useless. Then we're useless. So it's very, very delicate dance of like, go there, like, do not turn away from that which needs to be seen, because if we turn away from it, how is it ever going to change? We don't go and face the awful realities that exist on this earth. How is this world going to change? And it's up to each one of us. It's up to us how we respond. No one else is going to do it for us. Definitely not the world leaders. That's for sure. They are not going to do it. It's in our hands, and it's for each one of us to find how we can do that very delicate, fragile dance of going there, seeing, engaging, so that we can respond. You know, how can we give back? How can we be of some service? And making sure that all of that is anchored in our heart and from a place of love and light, that the way that we respond, or what we stand up against or stand up for, or what we raise our voices for, or how we choose to take action, when it's guided from our hearts and guided from the wisdom of our ancestors, we can trust that it's in alignment with the forces of goodness, the forces of truth, the forces of creation, which I deeply, deeply trust. And this is our work. It's a work for humanity. It's a no easy task. It's Jedi training, absolute Jedi training, to awaken, to awaken, really open our eyes in all ways, in all dimensions, inside of ourselves, spiritually. It's a strong work, and we must take very good care of ourselves. And then it all.
Listening, and kind of I was feeling this deep pain and grief you're experiencing. I've been experiencing, I think still experiencing, and still you have the courage and the tools to come to yourself and show up and bring your true self to the others. I was very much impressed because you're touring now in Europe and bringing this huge light that you are. And it's not easy to be on the road, changing places and every other day, but you're still doing it. And I was very impressed by the email you sent, that it's not an entertainment what you're offering. It's a sacred ceremony. It's gathering people around who want to hear, to listen to the ancestors, to these deep traumas that are around, coming back to themselves and praying praying in circle, and it's so, so powerful. And your life is what you're just saying. Amongst all the horrors, you're showing the way of finding the way to show up with your light, which is great. So the pain is kind of informing you and still transforming you, and you have the courage and the strength to do it anyway. And I'm so moved by that, and I'm so happy you're part of this summit, because this pain and grief are there, but the courage in people and the light is still there, and they can find it. And there is a unique way of everyone to show up and do this, because this is the only way. This is the only way how we can change a little bit. We can't change the other, but a little bit, by showing up, regardless of whatever we feel, not enough and grieving and in pain and in our little self. We can always show up. And you're showing this very well to us. So it's amazing, and it's such a privilege for me that you're here. And it's a miracle created by the universe that you're here, because your feeling responded to me 2.5 months after I sent the invitation, and I'm like, wow, the universe is creating miracles in my life, and here we are. And it's amazing what you're doing, and thank you for that. Very grateful for your song being. You are the song you are singing. So incredible to meet you, and to have the chance for our audience to meet you as well.
Thank you.
I'm aware of our time coming to the end together, and it was such a rich conversation. I would like to mention that you've got a free gift for everyone to download your tracks. You have YouTube presence, and everyone can feel your energy in these songs. It was purifying for me. It is purifying, and especially this day, I have been going through the same, crying for nothing. I think it doesn't feel like there is no reason, but your songs are extracting this. I don't know if I should say cleansing and coming back home. This is my expression. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling what your songs are evolving, your music. So I encourage everyone to visit, to click on the free gift, which is under this video, and experience your magic and the magic of the ancestors that is coming through you. And I would like to ask you if you have any final words. It was just magical and wise all the way through, but if you want to mention something else.
Yeah, as I was listening to you, I just, what was coming to my mind is something that a mentor of mine is helping me to understand, that everything we do matters here. And that the powers that be, it's very important for them that we don't believe that. And it's very important to them that we don't shine, and we're not anchored in our truth, and that we're divided, and that we don't live that which we love, and that we're not in relationship with creation. Like, all of these things is absolutely what the systems rely on for them to be the way that they are, for things to happen in the way that they do on this earth. It relies on us being, eyes shut, ears shut, mouth shut, robot. And just that reminder, even if it's difficult to believe, because I'm still in that process, like, okay, everything I do matters. And it's not I, as in I being any more important than anyone else. He means it like every single human being's worth on this earth is equal to another. Every single human being is loved and valued by creation and life itself as much as one another. So therefore, every single person's actions, whatever we do, matters. And this is so simple and so powerful. It brings such a depth and inspiration to our purpose, and that reminder of, like, no matter what we're doing, it doesn't have to be something massive, especially when we look at the world and we go like, oh my God, what can I do? Nothing I can do is going to change anything. I'm just one tiny little person. But it's like to reclaim that each one of us is as important as the other, and reclaim our power, reclaim our place, and live from that place where we know that even the tiniest thing, even if it's just like I smile at people when I walk down the street instead of ignoring them, I honor that I'm connected and we're fellow humans, or I just pick up that bottle as I walk by it, or I just plant flowers in my garden, or I focus my intention on living from a place of kindness. Like these things that may seem very small and insignificant compared to the vastness of what's happening in this earth. For me, this is changing me, and this is giving me a sense of hope. And without hope, it's really hopeless. And with hope, there is a vision. And with vision, there is a future for our children's children. And we are creating that vision in every single thing we do, in the way that we are, in who we are, how we emanate that song of our soul. And yeah, I just wanted to leave with those words, to kind of inspire, even amongst the hopelessness that can be there sometimes, to remember everything we do matters. Who we are matters, and how we are matters.
Thank you, Ayla. And we're going to leave it here with these beautiful words. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. It was an incredible pleasure. And thank you for our viewers for being here with us and listening to this amazing talk. Yeah. Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.